Welcome to the Comfy Chairs, a podcast from 123 Limited. I'm Kate, and today I'm sharing a comfyHQ segment to answer two questions that reflect real-world leadership challenges. We're looking at finding time for learning and balancing performance and leading. So if you've ever felt stretched thin, unsure how to keep growing, or wondering where leadership fits into your daily responsibilities, this episode is for you. How can I make space for learning when my calendar is packed? Great question. I love hearing that people are committed to learning and personal growth. And it is challenging to make it work when you're hyper-scheduled. Rather than searching for extra hours in the day, though, you can make space here by reimagining learning. There's a metric in the learning and development field that we use to talk about what type of learning activities are most useful to adult learners on the job. 70-20-10. Essentially, this outlines the percentage of overall impact of learning approaches. The greatest impact, 70%, comes from challenging work assignments, 20% from other people, and 10% from formal learning events. When you ask about making space for learning in a packed calendar, I'm guessing you're thinking about formal learning, like attending a class. Formal learning is very valuable, and it's just the starting point. The 70-20-10 rule does double duty here by also serving as a formula or template for how you budget your time. The good news is that when you design a learning plan for yourself, you only need a small fraction of time for formal learning. Another way to think about this is to realize that you can make space for learning by viewing your day-to-day as a classroom and seeing the people around you as instructors. If you take the perspective that a new project is a learning opportunity, then you're more likely to gain new knowledge and insight while performing the work. Similarly, if you seek out colleagues with more experience or skills you hope to develop, you can increase your abilities while building work relationships. Let me share an example of what I'm talking about to help you see what this could look like. Say we have a manager on our team who wants to build a learning plan for herself that will develop her time management and delegation skills. Let's call her Sharon. Like many of us, Sharon has limited time and a very small budget for learning and education, so she contacts a coworker in the training department for some guidance. And with this coworker's advice and help, Sharon maps a plan that includes a reading list, attending one virtual class on time management practices, identifying a mentor, and daily reflection. Let's break this down. For the 10% formal learning portion of Sharon's plan, she starts with reading a book about delegation and writing a short summary for herself about what she learned and intends to implement. Next, she attends the online class and does a similar summary to articulate which practices she will adopt. These formal learning activities are straightforward. They ground her plan in good theory and practice, and they take minimal time to complete. For the portion of her plan spent learning from other people, the 20%, Sharon works with her direct manager to find a mentor who has a reputation for strong personal productivity and effective delegation skills. Her ask to this mentor is very specific about what she hopes to learn, and she prepares simple, focused agendas for each meeting. She also debriefs what she's learning with her manager to help affirm and cement her new knowledge and to get feedback on her progress. Sharon is using time with her manager that is already scheduled, and while the mentor meetings are in addition to her schedule, they often meet over lunch or before the workday begins for breakfast. Now the big ticket, 70% learning on the job. Sharon reviews her current workload and any special assignments and identifies which tasks and projects can offer the most opportunities to use the skills she is trying to develop. She then blocks 15 to 30 minutes at the end of each workday to evaluate what went well and where she could have done better in terms of managing her time and making decisions to delegate. She keeps a journal for this activity to record lessons learned to document wins and misses, and to track her learning progress. At least once a month, she reads her most recent entries to assess what she's learned and set a fresh intention for the coming month. While some people, like Sharon, like myself, may prefer to write these journal entries by hand, it's also possible to type or even voice record the daily reflection. And while this is a daily commitment, the total time spent is going to be typically less than 10 hours each month. In this example, the bulk of Sharon's effort goes toward extracting lessons from her day-to-day work and interactions. Rather than adding learning events to her calendar, she transforms her time into an ongoing learning experience. With a fresh perspective, you can do the same. How can I balance being a high performer with leading others effectively? Isn't it interesting that these are seen as opposing priorities? It says a great deal about the structure of the workplace and reflects how we prepare or fail to prepare people for leadership. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I want to start by reframing this question. Your effectiveness as a leader is the measure of performance. Leading is the work, not the extra assignment or other duties as assigned. It's not a balancing act. It's about changing your understanding of high performance when you become a leader. This is one of the problems we face in the modern workplace. People leaders, especially middle managers, have so many responsibilities that their core work, leading people, often gets put on the back burner or shuffled to the end of the to-do list. I personally think this is one of the main reasons we are experiencing losses in engagement, retention, and other measures of the employee experience. My first full-time job was in retail. I remember one day realizing that I had the wrong attitude about what I viewed as customers interrupting me on the sales floor. I thought they were disrupting my work when, in fact, they were my work. The other tasks were what I did between moments of doing the job of serving customers. Unfortunately, this is the same flawed approach to people leading we see these days. Employees aren't an interruption of a leader's job. They are the job. We've ended up with the backwards attitude to leadership, though, because there is very little training to become and be a frontline manager. Gallup's most recent State of the Global Workplace report indicated that only 44% of managers say they have received training. The same report states that manager well-being increases by 32% when training and ongoing development are present. See, this question of how to balance one's own performance and being an effective leader is a sign of the times. It signifies that leadership is generally off track. Listener, this is not a bad question. You are not doing things all wrong. The way we are working and leading right now are not effective or sustainable. If we expect leaders to do it all, lead people effectively, and produce their own mountains of work, we can't expect them to succeed. So I don't want to leave you with despair and worry. I do think there is a way to find a little balance and sanity despite our current state of affairs. You are likely a leader because of your track record of high performance. This means you have skills and abilities that you can translate into leading effectively. So I encourage any leader who feels stuck between achieving their own results and getting great results with a team to try this. First, do a simple self-audit. Ask yourself what your strengths are and what work you do best and enjoy the most. Next, audit your team in the same way. Identify each employee's strengths and expertise. And this doesn't have to be complicated. Make a simple list. Third, assess the full team's workload, including yours. Again, this can be a simple list of tasks and responsibilities your team performs. Identify which parts of the work are role specific, like things that can only be completed by a manager or jobs that require certain training or licensure. And then the fun part, play a matching game. For each piece of the full workload that isn't role specific, match a strength to the task. Use this matchup to reimagine assignments, provide stretch opportunities, and engage your team in using their strengths. Why does this approach provide balance? Well, for one, it lets you take a holistic view of your work and your team's abilities. It allows you to synthesize your responsibilities and your leadership. And it moves you closer to what leadership really is, not an add-on, but the heart of your role. That's all for this comfyHQ installment of the Comfy Chairs. Thanks for listening. And if you've got a question you'd like me to explore on a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can send it my way using the link in the show notes. And if this episode gave you a clearer view of the kind of leader you want to be, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to my newsletter. You'll find a link in the show notes for that too. Next week, I'll be back in the comfy chairs with a conversation about critical thinking. See you then.